This next location is absolutely terrifying. There was actually times while we were at this next location that we had to leave because the feeling felt so suffocating. All right, just out of curiosity, how long has it been since we did our last overnight? Oof, my bad. What's up, guys? I am Rye Melik, and if you don't know, here on Spooky Nights, we used to do something called Overnights with Spooky Nights, and like the joke inferred, it's been quite a while since we've done one. So today, I thought it would be a fun idea to rank our previous overnight investigations from least scary to most scary. Now, we currently have 13 haunted overnight locations that we've been to. Now, before I get started ranking these locations, I just want to note, just because something is at the bottom is not indicative of how haunted that place is. It all just kind of depends on your own experience at these places. But with that out of the way, let's just get into it. The least scary overnight location that we have stayed at is the Hotel San Carlos. Now, the reason why this comes in so low is when I really think about it in retrospect, it was the first paranormal investigation that we ever did. So I think that a lot of the fear and jitters that we had going into this investigation really was the fact that it was our first time doing it. We weren't used to being in haunted locations at that point. And something I learned as we stayed at more overnight locations is that you can't fall into the fear or reputation that a place has. If you watch that video, I think it's pretty clear when we're investigating how scared we are regardless of anything happening. And just as a side note, one thing that has always bothered me about this paranormal investigation is the fact that we didn't even stay in the most haunted room in the hotel. But we were just starting out, so I guess I can give us a pass. Sometimes when you're doing an overnight investigation, you're not always going to get the most compelling evidence you thought you would. And for us, that just so happened to be at the Hotel Monte Vista. Now again, to reiterate, we didn't have like a bad overnight. We actually really enjoyed our stay at the Monte Vista Hotel. It's a beautiful hotel. There's a certain feeling you get when you're at a haunted location investigating and you're waiting for something to happen and it just doesn't. That takes a lot of the fear away from it. I don't think that an investigation where not a lot happened is indicative of how haunted the hotel is, because sometimes you just get unlucky. Now, is that to say that nothing happened at the Monte Vista Hotel? No, I think we did capture some things here and there, but for the reputation that this hotel had going into it, I think we were just a little bit let down. Now, we did have one of several rooms we could have chosen, so maybe we just didn't really get the best room to experience something paranormal, I guess.
So I am gonna sit in this rocking chair. This is a really, really eerie feeling.
Okay, hear me out on this next one. Some of you might think I'm crazy for putting this low, but I have to be honest, I didn't find the Clown Motel all that scary. I know, clowns are extremely scary to everyone. I guess going there, I realized clowns don't particularly scare me all that much. Now, one thing I will say about this location is that it is a really unique and cool theme for a motel to have. There's literally clowns outside, there's clowns inside of the room. You go into the lobby and there's nothing but clown statues and little figurines everywhere. Now, one thing that is super creepy about the Clown Motel is the fact that there's a cemetery right next to it. But when we stayed there and we were walking around the cemetery, that's genuinely where I felt the most uncomfortable. Just standing out there in the dark, thinking you're hearing something behind you is extremely creepy and really is what puts it above the other locations, at least for me. I'm not entirely sure where Lisette is. She decided to go out first in front of me, so I'm gonna go find... The hell? I think every paranormal investigator has a moment during one of their investigations that will forever stick with them. For me, that just so happened to be at the Copper Queen Hotel. One of the first things that set me off and made me feel extremely uncomfortable was when I heard a voice outside of our second floor window that I just could not explain where the hell it came from. And to this day, it freaks me out because it didn't sound far away. It sounded right outside of our window. The other thing that happened was when we were trying to communicate and we had the EMF reader.
Okay.
What's going on?
Okay, look, if there is a spirit or entity, stop touching the device. Stop making it go off.
Ooh.
Oh
Okay.
my freaking God.
Now, I know not everybody likes EMF readers and sometimes they can be explained as to why they spike. But when something like that happens at the moment that you ask for it to happen, for me, it's a little too much of a coincidence, you know? It's genuinely creepy. Genuinely one of my favorite hotels that we have stayed at in the state of Arizona. So if you get the chance, please go check them out.
I've met a stray cat. Hello. Do you know about the ghosts?
She refuses to say anything.
Sometimes what makes a place scary isn't necessarily the paranormal stuff that happens to you there. It's the real life stuff that happens to you there. Up next on my list is the Hotel Congress, specifically the one in Tucson, Arizona. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. We kind of had a bad experience at this hotel. I don't really want to get too into it because I don't want to bash any of the places I'm talking about today. But the Hotel Congress has got to be one of the most frustrating places we stayed at. If you've seen the video, you know what I'm talking about. We've booked two of the most haunted rooms in the hotel, and they ended up giving one of our rooms away. And, you know, it is what it is. Our investigations there was pretty unique because we split apart for the first time. Lisette took one room, I took another. And part of the reason why this hotel's so scary, not the main reason, Lisette's solo investigation was pretty intense for her. Based on that, this hotel was pretty scary for Lisette. Now, not a lot of people know this because it wasn't in the video, but basically that night we almost got mugged, which is completely crazy to say. So we were outside at night taking an exterior shot of this hotel, specifically this shot right here. This guy was standing behind us for like the longest time, kind of in the distance watching us. And when I was finished, Lisette was like, dude, there's been a guy over there just watching you. You have an expensive camera. There's nobody around. So I was like, okay, let's just head to the parking garage, go up and get into our car and go get food. Long story short, we had an interaction with this guy. It was really uncomfortable and kind of intense, if I'm being honest. We managed to get to our car and go get food. And you actually see that part in the video where we already have our food. Sometimes the scariest things that can happen at these places is not even the hauntings or any of the paranormal stuff that you might encounter. A lot of the time, it's the real life things that can happen to you.
You may kindly leave the room now, as we needed to sleep. You are no longer welcome. I never thought I'd be evicting spirits from a room.
So I'm gonna make this next one a kind of shorter entry because if I'm being honest, there's not a lot to this overnight, I guess, because it wasn't really an overnight and it wasn't really a paranormal investigation. So at number 8 on this list is the Casa Grande domes, which RIP, they no longer exist. I found that out not that long ago. They were torn down and that's such a shame. I'm disgusted. We didn't stay overnight. Really, it was us exploring this supposed haunted location. You know, it was really cool during the daytime. Not so cool during nighttime. If you haven't seen the video, I had the bright idea of walking through the Casa Grande domes alone by myself at night. We were still relatively new at this, so when I was walking through those domes, I just kept thinking about how apparently shadow people were seen there. Again, nothing happened, but creepy and honestly quite scary as hell to walk through there like that.
Honestly, this has got to be one of the most terrifying things I've ever done. Being alone in these domes is not anything to scoff at. Like, Jesus Christ.
To this day, I don't know if the town that this next one is in is pronounced Tonopah or Tonopah. At number 7, we have the Mispaw Hotel, otherwise known as the Stanley Hotel of the West. The Mispaw left one hell of an impression on me and Lisette. For one, the hotel itself is just pretty creepy. It has like this old-fashioned look to it, and when you're in there, it kind of feels like you're transported to a different time. I think this was one of the only places where it felt more uncomfortable and scary to be walking around in the hallways than being in the room that is supposedly haunted. But the thing that gets me about this video is what happens towards the end when me and Lisette decide, you know what, enough with the equipment, enough with all this other stuff. Let's just sit in here. Let's just talk to whatever's here and see if it answers us. Sure enough, we got answers.
Okay, we heard you. Can you do it again?
I'm not saying that it's 100% paranormal, but it sure as hell was scary, especially when you're saying stuff under your breath and knocks are still answering those questions. And it's pretty crazy that we originally had basement access to the Mispaw Hotel. Apparently the basement is also incredibly haunted. For one reason or another, it just didn't happen. We couldn't make it work. But just thinking on it, if we did go down there, this video might have shot up way higher on this list.
Wow. It's a legit whole exercise room. Did you hear that?
Or what? Squeaking?
Yeah, you didn't hear that, like, huh?
That was my boot.
Oh, dude.
What's that
Bro.
noise?
Yeah, I almost flipped out. I was like, the hell was that?
Now, before we move on, I just want to say that from this point on to the end of the list, every location that I will discuss has genuinely given me such distress and anxiety. So next up on the list, we have the Mac Daddy of Arizona, the Jerome Grand Hotel. The Jerome Grand Hotel, if you don't know, it used to be a hospital. Literally thousands of people have died there. Let's just put the investigation aside for now. The best way I can explain being at this hotel is having a complete sense of dread that something is about to happen. I'll actually put it this way. It felt like something was about to like pop off at any moment, and you never really knew or had an idea as to what that might be. I don't really know how to explain how scary it felt to just be getting the things we were getting during our investigation, and specifically that final Estes method we did.
Do you want us to stop?
Behind.
Okay, David, I'm done. David.
Closet.
David, I'm scared.
And look, I've said this since this Estes method took place. I don't think I like got paranormal sickness or anything. I genuinely think that I was just so scared about what I was hearing through the Estes method that it genuinely made me sick. And for that reason alone is why it places here at number 6.
And another one I'm not looking. Wow, that looks like straight out of a horror movie.
Okay, let's see. Number 5. Oh my god. The fact that this is number 5 and not higher is crazy to me. Up next, we have the Gila County Jail. Now, I think the reason why this one was so scary to me is in the name. It's a haunted jail. I think most people would be pretty scared of that. Yeah, the atmosphere at this one was not good. Knowing the history of this jail and how violent it was and everything that occurred there was really intimidating going in. And the fact that it was just me and Lisette in this 3-story jail, completely alone, that didn't help either. But right off the jump, we were pretty unsettled when early on in the video, we heard what sounded like a jail door slamming. And the crazy thing was that earlier, our tour guide was telling us that one of the common things that happens in that jail is doors slamming. And you know, that's one of those things where like, there's no denying it. A door clearly slammed. Whether you want to think like, oh, it was the wind, or yeah, it was paranormal. It slammed and it scared the absolute shit out of us.
Now,
Let's go check that out.
But to me, what really pushed this one up there was when I handcuffed myself in the most haunted jail cell and literally sat there for I think like 10 to 15 minutes. When I tell you that that was really me just trying to push myself beyond my limit, I mean it. I was so scared. I'll admit it, I was scared. There's no way to leave that room once you're handcuffed. It really makes this particular investigation stand out in my eyes and really does make me feel unsettled when I look back on it.
Sound like a sneeze. Or like a cough.
that might just be somebody walking in the alley.
We can listen back, see what it was.
Even now, we're hearing shit.
You know what's kind of crazy? That there's not just one extremely haunted place in Atchison, Kansas. There's two. The McIntyre Villa honestly surpassed all expectations that I had for it. This is an instance where I came in underestimating it, and it really came back to bite me. For one, the McIntyre Villa is just an absolutely beautiful house from bottom to top. The McIntyre Villa is also massive, which I think also doesn't help in terms of creepiness. For one, before we even start investigating, I did a solo investigation completely alone. Throughout all of our overnight videos and investigations, I had never done that. This was the first time and the only time where I was completely alone in a haunted location. On top of that, when we got to the actual investigation part, the obulus that we were using said my fucking name. Ugh.
Soon.
Soon?
Sacrifice, sift, soon.
What the fuck?
What?
What the heck?
The fact that this just said that is freaking crazy.
And again, with that same ovulus, when Lisette and Ruth are going down into the basement, and you know, we've been hearing and experiencing all these creepy things and how there's possibly like something evil here. Before they go into the freaking basement, the ovulus says, devil.
All right. Is the ovulus on?
No.
Erase. Devil.
Nope.
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 No. We're
No.
not doing it.
I have goosebumps actually, like right now, thinking about this. The fact that when Lisette and Ruth were going down into the basement, that ovulus that had said my name previously, right before they go down, it says devil. It goes back to what I was saying earlier. This stuff doesn't necessarily prove that it's paranormal, but it's the moments that these things happen that really scare me. Like, it doesn't feel like a coincidence that it just happened to say that. Oh man, and then when we went into the actual basement, me and Diego, because Lisette and Ruth refused to, and we did that Estes method, and I have to admit that in the entire time we've been doing overnight videos, that was the most scared I've ever been doing an Estes method. And quite possibly that was the most scared I ever was during one of our overnights, which is really saying something because the McIntyre Villa is only coming in at number 4.
I I'm getting like an overwhelming feeling to get the fuck out of here, so let's go. Let's go.
Okay, so for this next one, don't be like me and Lisette. If you're gonna go into a cave, you should probably go in there with hard hats or some sort of equipment. In all seriousness, coming in next on this list is the Apache Death Cave. This was a freaking crazy location that I still cannot believe we actually did. Apparently there's an Apache death cave out in like the desert of Arizona. And just to sum it up, apparently a bunch of Apaches were burned inside of this cave by Navajo. Whether that story is true or not, it's still extremely creepy. So Lisette and I decided to go down there into the cave as far as we could, and we literally went to the back of this cave. We did do some paranormal investigating, but that is not the reason why this location is this high. I think we say this during the video. We went down there without knowing what was in there. There could have been an animal, there could have been another person, and if there is another person, you don't know their intentions. Before we even get into the cave though, we're like hearing something moving throughout the rocks, and that was unsettling.
What was that noise?
I don't know. Did you hear that too?
Yeah.
Come on. Did you hear that?
The Apache Death Cave is the pinnacle of what I mean when I say that real life can be scarier than the paranormal, because nothing paranormal happened down there. It was just the fact that this is a freaking cave we're going into. It's scary in a different way that I don't necessarily know if I can properly explain. All I can really say is this: look down this cave corridor and you tell me, would you be scared going in there? Cause we sure were. Hello? Okay, 2 more to go. And if you have seen our videos, you might know which 2 are left. This next one, I'm just gonna say it. It's the Sally house. It's the last overnight video that we did. Okay, so there's a lot of things I want to say about the Sally house. And I don't want to dwell on this too much, because at some point I want to explain further. But the Sally house is one of the reasons why you guys haven't seen an overnight from us in such a long time. Among various other reasons, right? But the Sally house made me feel, and it made Lisette feel, like no other place did. It terrified Lisette to the point where for the first time while doing investigations, she quit. And I gotta be honest, it was the first time I also considered we should just stop. Like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to investigate this place, regardless of whether or not you believe in the paranormal. Regardless if you think what we captured in that video is like indicative that there is something there. It felt like there was something truly evil in that house. The responses we got in that video, the things that happened during our investigation, what Lisette thought she saw at the top of the stairs, to us, it was truly terrifying.
Truck pushed.
That's going off as soon as it said that. Did it say truck?
Ooh.
What?
Ooh, there's a cold. I just felt like super like chills, like all up and down my arms.
What did that say?
It said pushed truck mad.
Wait, Lisette is in the truck.
I know.
When we do investigations, I typically feel like we conquer these locations. I don't feel like we conquered the Sally house. I feel like the Sally house conquered us. So when it boils down to it, it was the investigation at the Sally house that truly makes this place so terrifying to me. I want to move on to the number 1 scariest location that we have been to, which is absolutely insane considering the last place basically made us quit. This next location is absolutely terrifying. There was not a moment while we were there where we felt comfortable. There was actually times while we were at this next location that we had to leave because the feeling felt so suffocating. The atmosphere was so dense with the history of this house and the vibe it was giving off, like we could barely stand to be there. But with that being said, this next location also holds a special place in my heart because although it was all of those things, it was also what really motivated me to go through with another season of Overnights with Spooky Nights. But with all that out of the way, enough lore. The number one location for me is the Velisak Axe Murder House. Whether you believe in the paranormal or not, what happened at this location is genuinely so horrific. It dwarfs every other location that is in this video, especially because it's proven to be true. When you go into that house knowing what happened there, you feel the weight of it. And you know, our investigation didn't help. There was some genuinely insane things that happened while we were there.
Can you give us one of your names? Okay.
Did you fucking hear that?
What? What did you do?
I can't move.
Just
If any of the sisters are in the room still, can you give us one of your names?
it came from this way, right? Okay, well, let's just chill. Behind us, it was like a right? Dude, I got fucked. Oh, that's going off. That's fucking going off. Why is that going off?
Walking through the Velisak Axe Murder House at night with only a night vision camera to guide my way has to be one of the scariest things I have ever done on our channel. The McIntyre Villa might have had the one instance where I was the most scared, but the Velisak Axe Murder House had me on my toes the entire time we were there, and there was not one moment of rest, basically. This location will always be special to me because it proved to me that I am capable of doing these things. I am capable of pushing myself past my limits and, you know, really going for it.
It's a creek.
But nobody's fucking walking. That sounded like someone.
It felt like it was right here.
Well, there you guys go. That is my ranking of scariest overnight locations that we have stayed at. Again, this list does not represent necessarily how haunted these locations are, just how scary they were to me. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I truly appreciate it, and I'm so sorry about the lack of overnight content. Like I said before, I do eventually want to explain what's been going on there and why we haven't made any, but I will save that for a different time. And if you guys have been checking out our other videos, thank you guys so much. We are trying to expand past just doing overnight content. By the way, I know Lisette wasn't in this video to give her version of this list, but I will ask her and I will put it right here. I don't know exactly how different this is from my version, but I don't think it's going to be that different. Or maybe it is. I don't know. Anyways, guys, I hope you take care, and I will see you next time. Peace out. At the Monte Vista Hotel. My dog just scared the shit out of me. He's just over there moving. Ugh.